Hey everyone, it's Tia Robinson, also known as the Mindful Coach, and I am here with my fabulous friend and co-host,
Sonora Nieves, also known as Dr. D. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of SOS, Sisters Overcoming Stress. So what are we going to talk about today, T?
So we're going to talk about energetic overspending.
God, I love that term. Did you coin that? You're the first person I've ever heard say that in our previous conversations. Is that your term?
I don't know. I might. I don't feel like I've read it anywhere.
No.
Or anything like that. I think it's just like personal experience.
Yeah, I'm the queen of that. Just so you know.
And sometimes you go through things and you're like, when you come out of it, you're like, this is how I'm going to describe it. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't hear energetic overspending anywhere else and it's somewhere in my subconscious, but off of the top of my head right now, I'm sticking with it's something I might have coined.
So you guys heard it here. Tia Robinson, energetic overspending. So that's what we're going to talk about this month because we're all doing it, right? I mean, These statistics are unbelievable. At least 3/4 of the American population is reporting some sort of physical or psychological symptom of stress. We're just walking around falling apart. And a big piece of it is because we are pouring all of our resources, our internal resources, our time, our energy, our emotional investment into things that don't give us a return, right? They're not rejuvenating us. They're not moving us forward. They're not lifting us up. I know, I've definitely been guilty of doing that in my life, of spending my energy in the wrong places and wishing that I had receipts that I could go back with and be like, I changed my mind.
A 30-day policy, a money-back guarantee policy. I need my energy back.
What? I have definitely had relationships where I'm like, listen, is there a way? Maybe I lost my receipt, but can I trade this in for something I would have wanted more had I really thought this through? You know what I mean?
Can I trade the Corolla in for the Lexus of energy?
Yes, the Lexus of energy. What? So talk to me about what you overspend your energy on, Tia. What are you guilty of doing it the most with?
I would say relationships, right? I would say relationships. And we can have a whole nother conversation and discussion about, relationships that are romantic. I'm talking about relationships just in general, in terms of, folks that you may know or partner with or align with or work with, where you may have experience or equity in a particular area and you invest in that person, whether that is scheduling a meeting, whether that is, spending some time talking to them on the phone through, investing in people from that standpoint. And then sometimes, find that when you are going through certain things and life gets to you, that there's no one there to be able to invest and refuel, your account, so to say. Need that. So I would say I'm definitely guilty of relationships because I'm one of those people. I want everybody to win. And if I have experience knowledge in a particular area and you approach me, and want to learn or want to ask me questions, I'm one of those people that's just like, if you have the know-all to be able to say, you know what, I need help in this particular area. Let me go to this person and see if they can help or assist me in some type of way. And I'm one of those people that's like, okay, let me go ahead and help you because you asked. But just because you've asked does not mean that you are entitled to my expertise, to my genius, to my creativity. And I think that that's where the issue lies when it comes to energetic overspending. Just because someone asks does not make them entitled, right?
That's
so just
exactly
because somebody asks you, for $5 doesn't mean that you got to give them $5. Especially if they're not going to use that that $5 in a way that's going to align with something that feels good in your soul. You may not feel like, I'm going to give this person $5 because I know that they're going to use it on a vice that's not going to help them. Right. Some people will go ahead and give them that money, and it's not something that conflicts with their spirit. But if it's something that conflicts with your spirit, then folks are not entitled to that investment. And the same thing goes with energy.
Yeah. And that's such a good parallel too, because money is very much something that we've been taught to think that way about, right? To think in terms of investment, to think in terms of spending, to think in terms of accounts, right? We always use that terminology when it comes to money. We very rarely apply that same logic, rationale, approach to our energy, right? Like, we'll watch a coin, we'll count a coin, right?
Yes.
But you will run yourself into the ground and not think about, have you overspent your energy, right? Are you operating on a zero balance or on a deficit? Have you overdrafted? Because there's a lot of people running around here overdrafted when it comes to the energy.
And in collections. Yes.
Overdrafted and in collections, right? That's a question you really have to sit in meditation with. I mean, that's a question I have to sit in meditation with. How often have I found myself in a situation where I am still putting out energy, meanwhile my energy is overdrafted and in collections? That's huge. And I can attest to everything that you said, because you really are one of those bleeding hearts, where you see somebody and you will bend over backwards. See, I'm a nice person, but I'm a different kind of nice.
I ain't that nice.
I'm just a different kind of nice, right? Ever since we were little, I just been a different kind of nice. Like, I will go out of my way to be nice to people and be kind to people, insofar as it does not require I ignore my own needs. Yes. I just always been real mindful of that.
And the funny thing is that I think sometimes we don't necessarily know that it's going to basically leave us bankrupt emotionally, right? Sometimes you think you have enough to spend, right? And you have budget, and you're like, well, dang, I really not that much to spend. And I gave my all to this person, and they didn't pay me back. And they had no intentions on repaying me back, right? Because people, if they can take water from the well and not be able to, have to pour it back in, then of course they're not going to, right? People will cherry pick and take from your genius and will leave you with nothing. And you think about what, my parents said, and I know yours said, money does not grow on trees, and neither does energy.
Well, actually, it might grow in trees, but we want to talk about that another time.
That was our valid response when we were kids. But, if you have no fruit to bear, like, what's a tree without any fruit to bear?
And, the interesting thing is, we can get locked in this philosophy of abundance, right? And convincing ourselves that because energy is abundant and because energy is constantly flowing and continuous and an eternal resource to us, that we can just continuously give. But there's a difference between whether or not the energy is available and whether or not you're accessing it. Right?
Yeah.
If you're not sure, the energy is always there. Sure, the energy is abundant. But if you are not taking the time and the attention that you need to really focus on yourself and filling yourself back up, and in relationships where that energy flow is reciprocal, right? And not just relationships with people, but even relationships with activities and professions where the energy flow is reciprocal. If you're not constantly re-energizing, then you're depleting at a faster rate than you're restoring. And that can't possibly lead to anything good.
Yeah, you're spending at a faster rate than you are able to bring and
Yeah. Yep. When I was, we both come from a management background, which is why we got a serious financial analogy going on here, but one of the things that we used to talk about when we were talking budgets is our burn rate, right? You have to know how much money you have to coming in, and you have to know how much money you have going out in an organization or a company. And you have to make sure that you know what it's going to take to burn through whatever you burn through in a week, so that you know you have more than that coming in. And it's the same thing when you think about your energy. You have to know, what is your burn rate? What can I handle? What do these 7 days require of me? What are they going to demand from me in terms of my exertion? And what am I going to demand in terms of filling myself up so that I can supply what is required, right? You just have to have that information.
And as an entrepreneur, sometimes you have to come to the realization that you're going to have to spend and know that you're going to be in a deficit before you actually start to make money. So when you look at it from an energetic standpoint, looking at it from the standpoint of, if I invest my time and sweat equity into this thing, this person, this project, and I don't immediately reap the benefits of it in some way, shape, or form, whether that's just even something as simple as a thank you, how is that going to make me feel, right? Because there's psychology that's attributed to it as well. You know, it's one thing to be able to say, you know, I did this for this person, and when I needed them, they showed up. But how are you going to feel if you continuously invest into something, someone, you know, some project, and you're not getting or seeing a return on your investment? Because there's definitely, you know, stress at play when it comes to that, you know, and feelings of, you know, betrayal. Be you're not good enough, or you're inadequate, or likability, and things of that. So you also need to be able to measure, you know, when you look at whether you are going to, you know, invest in time and energy into doing something, you know, looking at it from all angles, right?
And to continue with our financial metaphor, let's talk about portfolio diversification. Because the other important thing to consider when you're talking about energy investment and energy overspending is, are you pouring all of your energy into one person, one thing, one hope, one dream, one project, one class, one job, one whatever? Because then you're looking for all of your validation, all of your fulfillment, all of your reflection, all of your stuff, right? That's my clinical term for it, stuff. All of the stuff that fills you up to come from this one source, which is just too much pressure and too high of an expectation to put on any one thing.
And to add on to that even more, you can be overly diversified and not focus your portfolio on a particular theme or genre or, you know, particular area, right? Which means that you actually start to lack focus when it comes to your investments, because you're doing so much and throwing things everywhere that you really don't have a rhyme or reason when it comes to certain things. And that's not necessarily good either.
That's right. And so basically what we're talking about here is finding a balance, right? Finding a way to strike a balance between not diversifying your investments in such a way where you're scattered, but also not over investing in just one thing to the point where you depend on this one person, place, thing, you know, hope, dream, whatever, for all of your fulfillment in the moment, right? There has to be a balance. And so how do you do that? So let's talk hows. We've talked what? Let's talk hows. How do we get from energetic overspending or energetic misspending, right? How do we get from energetic overspending or energetic misspending to inappropriate output of energy?
So my suggestion would be to get grounded and centered first and foremost, right? There's got to be some rhyme and reason to this. And if you kind of lost your way in terms of being able to identify that, I think the best, tool to use is to sit and be still, right?
Yep.
And then I would say start to really analyze why it is that you're doing what it is that you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing it because you genuinely want to help, which is fine? Are you doing it because by focusing on other people, places, or things, that puts you in a position to not have to focus on the things that you really need to focus on in life? So is it a tool for procrastination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a tool when you are trying to focus on being the end all be all for everyone else except for yourself, right? Are you really focusing on perfectionism and appearance? So I would say first and foremost, getting centered, and just in being centered, start to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Right?
And the why behind the why, and the why behind that why. Because sometimes it'll take us a while, like I'll tell you, one of my favorite and worst places to misspend my energy is on my daddy's diabetes. Because I would just see him eating stuff and be like, is that your second ice cream though? And that's none of my business. And he's a grown man who I respect. And he's lived through a whole lot of crises, and let him have the other ice cream, Tenora. Right? Right? Like, there's a way to be mindful, and there's a way to be helpful. And then there is controlling and overbearing and all of the things that push you over that balance line. Right? And so if I ask myself, why am I doing it? My first answer is always because I care, which is a lie. I do care, but that's not why I'm doing it, right?
But why do you care?
Right. So it's not only why do I care, but it's also why do I believe that this is what caring looks like, right?
Yes.
Why do I believe that this is what caring has to look like? Can I say a prayer? Can I envision him in white light? Can I trust that a grown man knows what he's doing? Can I deal with my own feelings of discomfort when I think about my fear that something could happen, which is what I'm basically trying to prevent? Can I have faith that I will get through that moment the same way I got through every moment? Do I believe in this God that I talk so highly about, or is he just a scapegoat? Because where is he in this conversation about sugar? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of whys, right? And there's a lot of whys behind the whys, and you have to do some digging, because we do a lot of lying to ourselves about why we do the things we do.
We do. Mm-hmm. And we really, really, really wholeheartedly believe that it's the truth and not a lie.
Oh yeah, like, it's all altruistic.
I was like, ooh,
yes,
oof. It just, I felt it.
Why are you overspending your energy? Because I care about the world. Yeah, really? Okay.
It reminded me of, and I don't know if you've ever dealt with this or whatever, but like, do you remember back in the day where it's like you couldn't tell an adult that they were lying about something?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you don't say that Miss Such and Such lied, but Miss Such and Such is lying. Like,
and now you lying about her lying, so y'all all lying.
Exactly, everybody
now
lying.
What you just taught me is it's okay to lie, and I'm gonna grow up and lie too.
Yeah, and I'm the one that's getting in trouble. So when you say, that's a lie, that's powerful.
Yeah, because we lie to ourselves for all kinds of reasons. We really spend a whole lot of time lying to ourselves. # energetic misspending. Another way we misuse our resources is by taking all of our time and attention and throwing it into the lies we tell ourselves, right?
Yes.
Because it's it's what keeps us going, or it's the stories, the narratives that we use to justify all of the behavior that we're comfortable with. And no matter what we complain about, most of us are doing all right. Right? And so even those of us who are doing worse than we want to be doing are still doing better than we probably were doing at another time in our life, or than other people that we know, right? And so there's a piece of that we use to justify the lie, because whatever story we told ourselves got us here. Mm-hmm. And so it can take us to the next level. But most of the stories we told ourselves to get us here ain't gonna get us out of here. So we really may want to think that stuff through, right?
It's a lie.
It's a lie. My clients hate when I say, "Ooh, that's a lie you told yourself." They hate that.
Like,
because I think the implication is that you are somehow being malicious, and when you're not a malicious person, you resent the thought that you would do something like that. But we don't lie to be malicious.
No, and I think also a lot of it is cultural. Like, you don't say someone lied. Like, you say somebody lied, that's like talking about their mama. You know what I mean? Like, you don't tell somebody that they lied to themselves. That's a conclusion that you're supposed to come to yourself, right? That's a secret I am only entitled to expose. No one else.
Oh, yes, I love that. Yes. No, that's the truth. That is what it is. And the other piece of it is you don't challenge people when they're doing something that's quote unquote good, right?
Yeah.
So as long as we are doing something that is quote unquote good, then it doesn't need to be looked at. So if you're helping people and you're just doing something good to help people, then you don't have to look at why you're doing it. You don't have to look at where you're doing it. You don't have to look at when you do it. You don't have to look at how much it's pulling out of you. You don't, the meager will inherit the earth. The meek will inherit the earth, right? Like, you just keep giving of yourself, and you just trust that it'll be repaid. By who, though? Right? Because
the energetic illness, like,
yeah. Because what you often see happen, and Tia, because we know a lot of the same people. This is the case. What you often see happen is then the giving people that were so great because they were so giving become the resentful, bitter people that never asked for what they really needed, never got what they really wanted, and then hate, resent, and are angry at other people because they feel slighted. Because while they were giving of themselves, they expected other people to be giving of themselves. And with everyone giving, then they would have gotten. And so they were giving but not getting. And now they hold the people not giving accountable for their not getting. But at what point do we take responsibility for asking for what we need? Like, just ask for what you need. You can't run around and be mad at people for not giving you what you never asked for.
Yeah, and I think that's a whole nother topic in terms of people needing to unpack that, because a lot of times, we are taught not to be vulnerable, right? And to tell people what it is that you authentically need makes them needy.
Yes.
Right?
Especially if you're a woman, you never want to seem needy.
Yeah, I think our generation, I think it's changing now, but our generation is like, what?
The wrong direction, right?
I don't need anything. I don't need anything. I can do it all, and that's a lie. That's so.
But that is another way of energetically misspending, right? Energetically misspending by pouring all of your energy and time into giving other people what you believe they need, in the hopes that someone will do for you what you have done for them. When initially you could have just given yourself what you need, and then people who are full and whole can come together and share, as opposed to everyone being responsible for feeding the needs of other people.
Yeah. And I was getting ready to say, the expectation that other people are going to do for you what you didn't choose to do for yourself.
Ooh, yes. Yes. Now, there is a place and a space for charity, and there is a place and a space for kindness, and there is a place and a space for generosity.
Yes.
But it is not to replace the place and space for all of that inside of you, for you, with you.
Yeah.
Like, I can be kind, I could be generous, I could be nice, I could be sweet, I could be all of those things. But I can't do that with other people in place of doing that with myself. Now, I can do that with myself and then share all of that generosity, all of that kindness, all of that sweetness, all of that wonderfulness with other folks. But if I just give it to other folks and then I stay empty, what am I working with?
Yeah. Nothing.
You can't run a charity from an empty bank account.
No, you can't.
Nope.
Mm.
All right. Well,
a rabbit hole.
Thank you all for joining us for another episode of SOS Sisters Overcoming Stress. We are your co-hosts, Tia Robinson and Nora Nieves, and we enjoyed having you this month as we talk about energetic misspending. And join us next month for our 7th episode of SOS Sisters Overcoming Stress. We can't wait to hear from you again.